And there are many, many, many people here to thank where we have such, I think, a unique alliance. And it's important that we have this alliance. But this alliance into itself must also challenge, I think, what comes forth today in our discussions and in our action plans. And so that homework then must be aimed at the very fact that by the time that the honeymoon of this summit is over, which I give it 24 hours, then so should be where then we are required to follow through on the steps that we are absolutely intended to make. For example, just to help get this going, this past June, who sits on the Budget Committee of the Board of Supervisors, with Budget Chair Supervisor Chris Daly and others, we did something that was a little out of the norm. What we were able to do is procure $1.2 million completely targeted for the question and for development of new strategies for reentry itself. That goes beyond the norm of the programs that we already subsidize. But this time what we did is that by dedicating this amount of money, while of course we're trying to wrestle with prominent crime rates right now and certainly distressing homicide rates that have sort of besieged San Francisco for almost 3 years now, we're also trying to turn something that people have continued to deny, but also try to turn it in a positive light. That San Francisco, with, I think, proper resources, city government with proper resources, working in concert with the CBOs, many of you that are here, and able to go ahead and establish the kind of trajectory that we want to say from essentially A to Z when somebody just before they're coming out of the system and just as they're given their $200 and their one-way bus ticket and their requirement of attending maybe one orientation for integration, and then we lose them completely right after that. But for A through Z, that we actually pick up the pace in that sort of catalog of what is provided for those formerly incarcerated and make sure San Francisco does its job and does its part in showing that people reintegrate more effectively, more seamlessly into the community. It does not do any good if in fact that we continue to gloss over the secrets that continue to destabilize our neighborhoods. It does not do any good, and we should be honest by that. It does not do any good in the fact that we don't want to sort of empower certain communities because those communities into themselves have already been relegated either through the press or the perception in more affluent communities that that's their problem. BS. It's not just one community's problem. It is a citywide problem, and it is a regional problem. And by the time that we start breaking down old stereotypes and demanding more of a systems-wide approach in dealing with, very targeted approach, in dealing with the very factors that continue to exacerbate repeat offenses and reentry, then we're just going to continue to fail. So with that being said, I hope we set the tone as to what we at least hope will come out of, I think, a very eventful day today. We very much appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for your commitment, and more importantly, thank you for the good works that you have been doing long before this summit and long after this summit continues, because this has to be considered an alliance. And this summit is that linchpin, I believe, that helps foster that alliance further into the future so that we do not go back on our words that comes out of this conference